Hey there, and welcome back to the Gutterwise Marketing Podcast. I'm really excited about this episode specifically because we're joined by the famous Ben Konowitz today. And I'm very excited to spend the next few minutes talking to Ben. So, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. And how's your day going so far?
Dude, it's awesome. I'm very, very happy to be on your show.
Awesome.
Heard a lot of good things, and I'm interested to talk to you, man. It's a great day. It's Friday before Labor Day when we're recording this, so my guys have a 3-day weekend ahead of them, and so do I. That's a
Awesome.
nice,
That's always a good thing to
nice
look forward
break.
to, right?
100%.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Well, we can just dive right in. Ben, you own a few service businesses, Laporte Seamless Gutters and ChuckIt, the junk removal side as well. So first, for those who don't really know you or aren't very familiar, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the home service industry and your involvement with those two businesses?
Sure. So to cut to the quick, because I know podcast time is valuable time. Okay, so let's just get to it. My mom and dad founded Laporte Seamless Gutter in 1982. They ran it for quite a while. I joined up in 2010, 2011, took over the operations 2015, the day-to-day running of everything. We doubled revenue, doubled profits, doubled everything by 2017. Went from $1 million to $2 million with the same infrastructure. So I didn't go crazy with like adding crews or adding crazy numbers and salespeople. We just took what they had built over the course of, let's say, 30 years and just automated a lot of processes, delegate, automate, or delete a lot of the E-Myth stuff that everybody's read. But we really brought that into the real world, and a lot of systems and processes were created that just made everything more efficient. And so that was my start in the business was, hey, Dad, give me a job. I came from a psychology background at Indiana University. That's what my degree's in. So using, I was always a pretty decent sales guy, but I did that before I joined the family business. So taking kind of a sales approach to what we've already built has been really like a key component. But then in 2021, I decided, well, that's not enough. What's going on in my small town here that I could service? And I realized that we had a dumpster program that the mayor had put out. And these dumpsters were city dumpsters that they were like, hey, we're going to let you put stuff in them for free. And they were overloaded within a day. And these are 40-yard dumpsters. I think he had like 4 of them. And within a day, our town of 21,000 had overfilled them. So there's a need. So I bought a truck and trailer and hired a couple guys and started marketing. And now we are a full junk removal business, but also we've been licensed in the state of Indiana to do moving home goods. So we also do move people as well.
Awesome. That's great. I really like how you kind of just took that need. You found a need there and just filled that hole. That's great. You said that you took over the business really from your mom and your dad, Laporte Seamless Gutter. And what are some lessons that you kind of learned from your dad moving into this operations and then obviously now full management role of that side of the business? What did he kind of pass along while you were working with him in the beginning?
Yeah, so it was fighting him tooth and nail on some things because he was very pen and paper and I'm very Google Docs. This is just the generational divide, right? Don't let my white beard scare you. I'm actually decently good with technology. So that was kind of a fight. But the things that I never fought him on were the installation side of the business. So I think that some of my biggest advice, if you're ever taking over somebody that has a successful business, and you want to make it even more successful, is don't change the recipe. Okay. If you've got a pizza restaurant that has a killer sauce, why would you go in there and change it? So my father, we've run 032 inch material for since 1982. I'm never going to go to 027. I'm never going to go 024. We have the same thickness that we've always used. If you're not in the gutter industry, you have no idea what the hell that means, right? But in our industry, everybody knows what 032 is, right? So that costs more money to do it that way, right? But that means our stronger warranty. That means that we can stand behind our product. That means that we got a lot less callbacks. The true craftsmanship that he offered from 1982 on, that has not changed. That's just been instructed and taught to our lead installers. And it's my job to keep those guys happy. So we have employees that have been with us now 16 years, 15 years. We had a guy retire a few years back after 27 years hanging gutter with us. So we truly have a career-based system rather than hey, it's a summer job type thing. So when you've got a good mix of that and following my father's footsteps of treat these people like they are year-round employees and that you need them a lot more than they need you. Just remember that. So really honoring and valuing the employees for real, and then not cutting costs on material. Those are the big two things. What that comes with, though, is you have to be comfortable selling at a higher price point. Everybody says, oh, it must be so nice for you to give your employees 21 paid days off a year, which is what we're at right now. And yeah, it is. But also, you're paying maybe $1 more per foot than the other guy in my small town. I would posit that anyone will pay that money when they see the quality of a well-rested and healthy employee compared to somebody who's burnt out and hates his job. So the consumer isn't being, quote unquote, taken advantage of by a higher price. They're actually being more taken care of.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that perspective of it. Of instead of they're getting less of a value because it's a higher price. No, they're actually getting more value because we're able to provide all these other secondary things. That's really awesome. Speaking of kind of secondary things, you're also very well known in the Laporte area for your extensive charity work and awesome events, and overall just being a really great guy. A lot of people, or at least where I'm from, kind of do their thing in their small town, go to high school, maybe go to college, and then, get a job somewhere else and then never come back, right? What was your really motivation to get so involved with your community in the Laporte area?
Man, I fell into this. Like, I think everybody that you talk to that would say, hey, how did you start doing charity work? It's good that you're directly involved with the cause. Like, not to be too blunt, but I have a friend whose daughter had cancer. And so he started raising money for cancer research for kids. Before she had cancer, he wasn't raising money for cancer. Not that, people do that obviously without having it, but when it hits home, people normally, that's when they step in and do it. And it's an amazing thing. I didn't think of myself as a super charitable person back 2010, 2011, but I did think I was kind of funny. And so me and my buddy went over to the stand-up comedy club in South Bend, Indiana, called The Drop. And we just said, you know what, I'm just going to go to the open mic night and see what this is all about. So starting a comedy career in your 30s, not the biggest, smartest idea in the world, but we got there, we got up on stage, we made maybe one person laugh, and that's all it took. So to cut to the charity side of things, I couldn't convince my friends to fricking drive 20 minutes to see me do stand-up comedy. I could not convince them. So I rented out the little theater in my town. It's a 200-seat theater. We put tickets on sale for $10 and we sold out immediately. Like 200 seats, $10 a pop, $2,000. I'm funny, man, but I'm not funny enough to keep $2,000. So I felt terrible. I was like, what the hell are we gonna do with this money? So I just looked up charity and I found, well, Salvation Army. I've heard of that one. So we gave the Salvation Army $1,500 and we paid the rental of the theater. And I paid a headlining comedian $300 to come in. And he drove in from Tennessee for $300 to do a headlining set. And his name is Stuart Huff. And he was doing it for charity for us. He's like, man, I'll just help you out. He was just he's to this day one of my good friends in the comedy business. That was so incredible because knowing that we could bring something to town that made people feel like they were in Chicago for the night, because we had a full bar and all that stuff too. It felt like a really fun elite event. And we're telling some R-rated comedy jokes, whatever. So we've now done that 15 times in a row over the last 7 to 10 years. And they've all sold out. And now ticket prices are $20 instead of 10, still pretty reasonable. And then that grew into inappropriate trivia, which is my baby. We rent out the Civic Auditorium in LaPorte, Indiana, one time a year in February. It seats 700 people. So 700 people come and play dirty trivia. I come up with all the questions, R-rated. It's really crass. It's not for the faint of heart whatsoever. But that event has generated a lot of income, and we've spread that across like the park department and all these other small charities. We're over $150,000 donated, and it's a 100% volunteer. I actually say it's 110% donated because a lot of times, of course, Gutter will sponsor like the banners or pay the taxes on this or rent the cop for the night or whatever. So we're actually giving away all the money we make. Plus, then I'm sponsoring kind of some of it. I never want to make it look like, oh, well, our administrative fees, we got to take $20,000 for that. Nah. Every dime is going to the actual charity. So we've changed some lives here in LaPorte, Indiana. And, I always say you've got this small bubble. Everybody in their life has a small bubble. If you focus on doing good in that small bubble and everybody else does it, then we're all got these bubbles all around the world and you can make it better. It's that whole, act local and think global.
That's awesome. I think that's so great how you just took your community and just again found a need, found something that you hadn't had before in the community and just filled that hole and then did it in such a wholesome and charitable way where you're not, taking all these fees and everything like that. But a little bit more of a business question on that. Has that type of event and just getting that name out there, then obviously also having that sponsorship through LSG, has that kind of helped the Laporte Seamless Gutter side of things as well, get the name out there and maybe get a little bit more business on that side?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's really hard to gauge those analytics, right? I got a big bushy beard, but I love data too, right? I love digging into the numbers. It's so hard to be like, well, did that improve your business or not? I kind of feels like it did. We get mentions every once in a while. Sure. I'm sure somebody could do a research study saying, that you increased your sales by 10% this year because you did the charity. All I know for a fact is that I have individually been on a job site. Oh, you're the guy that does that charity. Oh, okay. And then if we win that bid, I'm gonna assume that maybe the wife and husband sat at the table at that night, looked at the three bids, and said, "Well, that guy, he's a pretty good guy." Like, and that's okay. That's of course not the reason we did it. This started completely independently of the Laporte Singles Gutter. Just me telling stupid jokes that my friends wouldn't attend to. So it kind of grew separately. But now that I've got control over my family's business and we've grown so much, taking that money and then putting it over into the charity side of things, uh, it's so cliche, man, but you put it out in the world and it comes back tenfold. I really do feel like that's just all the big game we're all playing. It's like the shortcut or the secret is, oh my God, if you treat people well, things are going to be good for you too. Isn't that crazy? And I think a lot of these kind of like guys cracking the whip and really like forcing employees to work mandatory 12s and, well, you should just be thankful you got a job. It's like, all right, buddy, you can run your business that way, but I'm sleeping pretty well at night and we're doing good things for the communities. And I think my guys really like working for me.
That's awesome. That's really great. Um, I kind of want to take a little bit of a backtrack now into those first couple of years when you kind of took over the Laporte Seamless Gutter side, and then also those first couple of years when you started ChuckIt. Uh, what were you doing to kind of get jump started? What were you looking at when you first came in and saying, okay, what do we need to do here? What's the plan?
Sure. So there really are two straight answers to that question. One is, what are you in your own way about? Yeah, meaning, what are you doing right now that is not the highest best use of your time? So you can't implement any sort of marketing or sales strategy if you don't have the time to do so. Does that make sense? So if you've got to first, I think, start there and say, if I've got a pouch on and I'm climbing a ladder and answering my cell phone at the same time, that's probably not, you're not going to go home and like, oh, I guess maybe we should try some yard signs. What are you doing? You've got to get off the ladder. You've got to, delegate that to an employee that can do that. So one of the first things that my dad and I thought about, honestly, was our supplier is Lynch Aluminum out of Peoria, and my father would hand unload the truck every week, even though he had, at that time, I think he had 7 employees. He would by himself, and the guys would help, but he would check well, that came in. And so my conversation with him was, what are you going to do if something's missing? You're going to make it magically appear just because you're the one unloading the truck? Well, you just got to make sure you do it all yourself. Otherwise, it won't get done right. I love my father more than this life. He's amazing. He gave me every opportunity. That's something he was wrong about. And that's okay. He needed to take a step back and say, that's not the highest, best use of your time. So the automations or delegations were very important when I first took over the running of the day to day. Yeah, back in the day, sure, 2011 through 15, I unloaded my fair share of trucks. Okay. When I started making the decisions for the company, the highest best use of my time was, okay, what are the angles we're not seeing here in marketing? Where am I missing? And so and then doing the metrics, we need to get a phone number that is different than our family business phone number and put that on a billboard so that we can have the metrics to see who's calling that actual number. So having these tracking numbers all over the place was something that we had to obviously track. And so back then, even in 2011, 12, we were still in the yellow pages. So we put phone numbers in the yellow pages that weren't our phone number. And then we'd know if those ads worked. Well, guess what? They didn't. We ended up getting like a lead was like $400 from the yellow pages. And then on Google, it was like $3. So I was able to at least show the data to my parents and say, this is why we're going to start marketing this way. And these tracking numbers are actually helping us. Well, no, that's not our phone number, darn it. It doesn't matter. The things that don't matter, you have to let go of. And just because it's nostalgia, it doesn't mean that it's the right way. So after I was able to say, okay, I'm giving this to my employees to do. Now I have the second answer to the question, which is what did I actually do with that time? Hey, Ben, you got 8 hours a day, buddy. What are you going to do? So it became, what aren't we doing? It was, we tried billboards for a little bit. Yard signs was the big thing that we finally got into. We bought $1,500 worth of yard signs, and I just had the guys, I mean, just every single job has gotten, I don't care if it's a downspout replacement in the back of the house and the front of the house looks like crap. Put a yard sign in the yard. The reason you do that, I've gotten pushback from other company owners. Well, you don't want to put a yard sign in the front of a bad house. Are you kidding me? That doesn't matter at all. People are either going to overthink it and they're going to go, oh, they must be coming to do that later. Or they're not going to think about it at all. They're just going to see your damn name. And that's okay. So all of this, any opportunity you got to put a yard sign out, do it. You can easily track that as well. Look at where you put a yard sign. Take a look at the next 2 weeks of phone calls. I guarantee you're going to see on Google Maps, go to googlemaps.com rather than to Google Maps. You can put in a lot more data points rather than just the 10 driving directions. You create a My Map, you put all those addresses in for the last 2 weeks of your estimates, and then see where you put your yard signs. Oh my God, you see the clusters? It does work.
That's awesome. I do agree. You do seem to be very into the data and very, dialed in on the numbers and things. And I feel like that's kind of a trend in the industry where a lot of guys aren't. Like whether it comes to their marketing or their finance or their, whatever it might be, they're not really dialed in on the numbers. Have you always kind of been that way? Have you always been a very numbers focused guy, or did you learn that over time?
I was always, it's the psychology for me that is the most interesting part, right? So it's not necessarily, I don't love math. Let's say I love doing back of the envelope math real quick. Like if I go to a concert and I'm sitting down there, like I go to a comedy show in Chicago and it's a 2,000 seat theater, I'll start doing the math in my head. Like I paid this much for tickets. They probably paid this much. This venue holds this. It probably costs us to rent it, to put it. I'm trying to figure out how much the comedian's making. I've been doing that ever since I could remember. I love back of the envelope math like that. My girlfriend makes fun of me to this day for just always like, are you doing back of the, we're just here for a show. Why do you need to know?
Same thing. I do the same thing. I get it.
It's awesome, right? I love that. So the psychology behind it though is behavioral economics is a ridiculously fun thing to get into. That there is a book called Super Freakonomics that was written 20 years ago now. And I remember reading that book and they said that, they did a study and ice cream sales going up meant that the murder rate would go up. And it's a big case on correlation versus causation, right? So just because ice cream sales go up, the murder rate goes up. Okay, so ice cream sales cause murder? No, it's hot, man. It's hot. So when it's hot, both things go up. So understanding the psychology of why people do what they do and how to nudge them in the right motivational way, that's really my bread and butter. I love digging into the data behind that supports that. To say, okay, well, if we give our guys more time off, they will be more well-rested and they will do a better job and I'll have fewer callbacks. So I don't look at giving a guy an extra day off as a cost. For me, that is a cost savings. And for some reason, our industry is very, very focused on, well, just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and work harder. It's like, what are you doing? Like burning everybody out doesn't help anybody. So you're going to make more money if you don't cause that burnout and you actually are anti ripping so hard and really forcing people to do stuff. I just found in the real world, again, putting good stuff out there and treating people like you would want to be treated. It's a cheat code that I don't think enough people are utilizing.
I 100% agree. And that's kind of our motivation through this podcast as well, is just putting things out there that may or may not help someone else. And honestly, if it doesn't even help anyone else, it's helping me and it's helping the people that I'm talking to, right? Because it gives everyone an opportunity just to talk through a lot of these things. And I 100% agree. I love that philosophy. And I'm very much the same way when it comes to the psychology, why people do the things that they do. How can we help persuade or nudge in a certain way that is best for both parties, that type of thing. That is definitely my bread and butter. You and me are one and the same in that for sure. For sure.
I'm still hardly believing it.
Yeah, for sure. So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you were starting to really grow and scale Laporte Seamless Gutter? Because you did some amazing growth in a very short amount of time. And so how were you able to kind of power through those tough days or what were some of those tough days looking like?
Yeah. So my record for estimates in a day, I did 34 house visits, processed the estimates, and got them all out in the same day. This is before we had a CRM. So I would have to go out and physically either handwrite the estimate on carbon copy paper or come in and build it to our accounting package and then email it out. So that was a 17-hour day, and that was one of many. And that was probably back in 2016, 2017, where I was peaking and I was probably averaging 20 estimates a day, just by myself, being the sole. And so I didn't take my own advice, right? Like when I started telling my dad, don't unload your own trucks, I still thought sales was so important that I needed to be the face of the company and I needed to do it. Right now I run two full-time salespeople. They run about 40 to 55 hours a week, depending. And that has been likewise a game changer for me. 100%. I should have done it so long ago. I just didn't know, how I never trained salespeople. I am a salesperson. So I don't know that that's the best person to train is just, well, do it my way. Because now I'm turning into my dad again, where it's like, well, you got to do it this way. I really gave them the same training that I got when I was started. My dad threw me out on a job site and gave me 2 weeks of holding a tape measure to teach me. And after that, I was on my own to teach my house how to sell. So I taught myself, and my sales guys honestly really taught themselves sales. They both came off of a crew. They know how to install. I knew that if I took somebody off a crew, they would at least be able to answer the technical questions. And that's so much more product knowledge that they know that the homeowner doesn't. They're already 20 times the salesperson that a used car guy is going to come in and be like, yeah, sure, you can schmooze somebody, but he's going to have to get back to them about why that rivet pattern looks like that, or why we would dump that upper into that lower or whatever. So we saved so much training of the institutional knowledge stuff just by having installers become salespeople and learning their own sales processes along the way. And then I just course corrected because I said, okay, you're doing it this way. Try it this way next time and see if you like that better. I think that's a key phrase. See if you like that better. I don't like saying do it this way because it's the right way to do, because if you force a salesperson to do it your way and they have to either read a script, it's going to come off so disingenuous. They're going to look tired behind the eyes saying it. It's not organic. It feels forced and weird. So try it your way, try it my way, see if you like it. Or there'll be a mix of my way and your way, and we'll kind of mix them together. As long as they're coming off honest and professional, I don't give a crap how they do it. As long as they're, not dropping the price for no reason, as we all know, the number one mistake that new sales guys make, which I've had to course correct a little bit. Like, what are you doing? That's not, everybody thinks price sells the job. We all know price has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So, we're getting a ton of leads coming in and having a lot of work ahead of you. What were you doing in that period of time to kind of keep those leads just coming in? Was it maybe a seasonality thing, or were there active marketing levers that you were pulling during that time to keep that lead flow?
I'm not kidding about the yard signs. That was the first year that we did it, and we just put them out everywhere. I ran yard sign contests where it would be like, hey, anybody who wants the yard sign, I'll put it in your yard. I'll drive by a month later. Like, I'll pull your name, and then if you win, I'll drive by and see if it's still in your yard. If it is, you will actually win, right? So, and you'd win. It was $100 bill in like a Laporte single pair sweatshirt. That's all I did. I think we placed like 87 signs in our local area. So it took me a whole Saturday and Sunday to drive around to do that. So again, it's what you're willing to do, right? You can't just buy yard signs and have your guys put them out. Are you physically, as the owner? That was the highest best use of my time right then and there. I wanted to do that because I wanted to be the first one to show them, here's how you would place that yard sign. It's not just that it's in your yard. They're on the corner. Why didn't you put it on the corner out so that you can get two-way traffic here? I can take a few photos. Now I've got an SOP that says, when you place a yard sign, these are the conditions you're looking for. This is where you need to be, because the data shows that if I can get double the views on this angle, why wouldn't you do that, right? It's all, again, about the data.
100%. That's awesome. I love that.
So yeah, the yard sign was the biggest thing. I'd say the other thing that we really did focus in on Google, and I hired a digital marketing agency to do my, I still did the Facebook for a while. We're on Facebook. We do it here and there. I don't think I posted in a week and a half, probably now. I do some before and afters and stuff like that. I know that's something I've got to get better at. I should probably have that delegated, where I've got somebody, doing that once or twice a week, probably. But our Google AdWords, I obviously review that monthly with my marketing company to make sure the keywords and all that are still up. And we change. to this day, we're still changing it every month. Okay, now it's metal roof season up in Northwest Indiana. So snow bar on metal roofs, gutter guards in the fall, things like that. In the spring, higher capacity 6-inch gutter because the big rains are coming. So we do shift our marketing around for that as well. I'd say keeping an eye on how you're displaying your marketing is very key. If you're gonna update your Facebook page or your website, it should be more of an evergreen post because you're gonna forget it, and then it's gonna be like, this Friday we're doing this, and it's like, that Friday was 3 years ago. And the biggest mistake you could probably make is having a website that says an upcoming event is coming up, and it was literally even a week ago. People are like, that's weird. But if it's a month ago or a year ago, these people are not very professional.
Yeah, not very on top of it at all. And I think that's one of the key social media things that I see is, I mean, I'll in my research and in my working with all the gutter contractors, I go and, do audits and delegation or reviews of social medias. I see that all the time where it'll be, 4 months ago, they were posting, happy Valentine's Day. And, that's the second post on their feed. And it's like, okay, well, these guys aren't very on top of it. They're not very, up to date.
Right.
And so I think professionalism and timeliness kind of work hand in hand in marketing, making sure that you're being very timely and very on top of what trends are, what, like you said, what the seasonality of your area is, as as long as you're doing that on a consistent basis and putting that out there to show that you're staying on top of it is very important. And I think that it pays tenfold when, someone can see that you're not only, up to date with the industry trends, but also showing everyone else as well, saying, hey, if you haven't taken a look at your gutters, fall is coming up, you might want to take a look and see if things are getting clogged, see if, that type of thing. I 100% agree there. So it seems like mostly you're doing a lot of online, which is really great, very nice to track, and very, very, and really the way that everyone's kind of trending these days. But you're also still focusing a lot on that offline, which is awesome. What other offline tactics do you guys use besides yard signs? Do you do a lot of maybe events? Do you do maybe sponsorships of sports teams? What other offline tactics do you guys do?
Yeah, so in the area, there's one builders association. So we're a member of the builders association. Of course, we have been since 1982. That's where we first got some of our first contractors. And there's actually one that's still in business that now I'm dealing with his son, where my father dealt with the guy I'm dealing with now's father, right? So generationally, we're still Mitch Pikus Builders is still somebody we do gutter work for 42 years. It's a great relationship. So those organizations that you can join that are, there's another one called the Laporte Economic Advancement Partnership. It used to be the Chamber of Commerce, and now it's just called LEAP. Wonderful organization, coffee with the mayor, all these things. So those are some of the offline things that we're doing just to keep our name. And I don't want this to sound pretentious, but you keep your name in the right people's minds and the right people's mouths. And the right people are not important people. They are people that talk to people. So if I'm going to be involved with a guy at the Laporte Economic Board, right, that talks to so many other people, I want him to know me and to know that I'm a good person and to understand where I'm coming from with my business. And if he needs anything, an estimate for his own home, I'll probably call up myself and do that just so I can make a better first impression. These are the things that, like, again, it's not that you want to talk to important people. You want to talk to people who know people. And word of mouth is still a huge thing. I know that obviously you being in gutter marketing, a lot of that stuff is online. And I believe wholeheartedly that it's worth it, but it needs to be a two-hander. You cannot have one without the other, and you shouldn't have one without the other. And any digital marketer that tells you could drop all real world stuff and just be only online, that's not a good marketer. The other things that we're doing, obviously, besides the yard signs, there probably hasn't been one $25 sponsorship that I've ever said no to in the history of my business, especially if the kid is asking for it themselves. If I have a T-ball team come in and the father drives the son down and he walks in the door and he goes, "Hi, my name's Brian, and I was hoping that maybe you could sponsor." And I'll tell him, "Yeah, let me see your sheet, buddy." And if there's a $25 option, I'm going to do that all day long. We, of course, will donate gift baskets and giveaways for other raffles for other places as well, putting our names on things. I don't actually have a budget for that. I've just never even looked into it. That's one thing I don't track, because I think that as far as giving back or donating to a $25 spend, I don't know that I'm going to lose my ass completely by doing that. If it gets out of hand, my office staff now would probably tell me, "Hey, you just did $3,000 of sponsorships and $25 at a time." think that'd be a little impossible. But the other part about that is picking and choosing the right events for those higher dollar figures. I would much rather give 10 kids $25 than one event $250, even if my name's going to go on there. I do really like to spread it around. Not that we don't do the larger events sometimes, especially if the city's involved or the park department. Those are a couple of my causes that I really care about. The parks in this town are amazing, and we do everything we can to keep those up for the kids. But by and large, small little drops of water all over the place to cover that map is what I want to see.
That's awesome. I love the non-budgeting for that type of thing as well. So they're just kind of keeping it, we have the money to do this. I know we have the money to do this, so we're just going to do it. And if it does get out of hand, then we'll definitely know about that.
Yeah. I think that I did. I think that I told my office staff, like, when you get because I was getting the request and she was still emailing me about them, and I say, hey, from now on, as long as we're not over like $500 a month with them, just say yes to all the $25. It's fine. I haven't been approached yet to say that it's over $500 a month, so I don't want to make it sound like I don't care and look, but it hasn't approached that number quite yet.
Yeah, awesome. There's actually a really great book called Unreasonable. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's disappearing. Oh, well, anyways, it's called Unreasonable Hospitality, and there's a piece in this book. I'm going to completely paraphrase this and probably botch it, so whatever. But there's a piece in this book that talks exactly about what you were just talking about, is being extremely tight and extremely disciplined with 95% of your budget, making sure that you know exactly which dollar is going where, what that dollar is giving you in return, and how you're using that dollar on a day-to-day basis. But then the other 5%, you become less disciplined with. You're able to do those $25 sponsorships, or if there's a customer that, you buy them a gift for, it's a nice old lady, and you buy them a gift because she said she loves puzzles, and you have this collection of puzzles that you want to donate, whatever, right? There's that 95% allows you to be extremely, generous with that other 5%. And I think that in the book, the author talks about how that 5% has yielded him vastly more returns than the 95%, but he has to keep the 95% in line to be able to manage that 5%. And so I really love that. And I think that's something that I'm definitely trying to implement in my business. And you obviously have done a really great job in yours. And I think that's something that a lot of people outside of this author's in the restaurant industry. And so I think that's something that outside the hospitality industry, a lot of people don't recognize. But I mean, as gutter business owners, we're in service, right? We serve people every single day. And so in any service business, I think that's an amazing tactic that you can use to just give back, but also just go that extra level, go that next step to really be that person in your community, be that guy, be that business that people know just because you're generous. So I love that. And I love that you've taken that approach as well.
So that brings up a good point. It's because that's 100% correct, but it also extends to my crew. So we are so dialed in on the estimates where it's okay. There's a valley splash. We charge 3 feet of gutter for a valley splash, right? We don't just throw that in. So that's part of my 95%, right? But what's not part of my 95%, my 5% is when Donovan's out on site and he's got the ladder out and he notices that there's a light bulb out, he'll ask the homeowner, hey, do you have another light bulb? I could replace that here real quick. Or he noticed that there's hanging plants and they haven't had water in a while. So grab the garden hose and water the plants a little bit, or he'll clean up the back patio area. These are the things that are intangibles, and all day long, that's why we're able to pay them the kind of money we can pay them to do this work, because these are the type of people that take that 5% and they run with it. So I'm not worried that job took an hour and 5 minutes instead of an hour. It's that little 5%. That's a great rule, George, overall for how you run your entire business. Be so strict with 95% that, and I didn't even say 90%, right? So that your 10%, you've got some flexibility to not let it crush your soul when you didn't get that fourth job of the day completely done. That's also part of this, right? You're scheduled out and I'm at 100% scheduling. It's all perfect. It can't be. You've got to have some margin, some wiggle room for not only giveaways and things that just make you feel good, but also for time. You can't fold time. Things happen and you're going to have to lose some time every once in a while, but your stress level is going to go way down if you allow for that 5 to 10% of, let's just call it for overruns for budget and things of that nature. It's just so smart.
Yeah, I agree 100%. An amazing strategy that anybody in service can use, whether you're in automotive, home services, whatever it might be. An amazing service business strategy. I also wanted to transition a little bit and talk a little bit about Ben Con. A lot of people might be familiar with it, a lot of people might not be. But really quick, can you just tell us a little bit more about what Ben Con is and what you'll be doing upcoming in September?
Sure. So first and foremost, I think the industry by and large owes a big debt to Brett Vanderswag. Um, Brent is become a good friend. Uh, I met him at the first gutter convention 3 years ago because I found out there was a gutter convention 3 years ago. Randomly online, I was like, well, I'm buying tickets. And 2 weeks later, we were in Denver, Colorado at an event, and I met Corey J out of Minnesota and Jimmy Fazekas down in Alabama. And to this day, some of my best friends in this industry and just solid human beings. So we all owe Bren a huge debt for bringing the first one all together. Now we just had the third one, the third GutterCon last winter. I brought 7 of my team members. I brought 2 sales guys and 2 installers and my production manager and 2 office staff members. So we were down there in full force because I just wanted to see my team to see, you know, truly we are a leader in this industry, but also here's what we're not doing as well as we could be doing. What are the takeaways here? We came back to Laporte, and then the employees that didn't attend GutterCon, we had our own mini GutterCon. We rented out the basement of the Civic Auditorium. We put a projection screen up, and everybody had to speak on one of the topics that these speakers spoke about. So it was a really fun way to take the information and then run with it and kind of do a bit of a rah-rah session too. And we set a new goal we wanted to do another $500,000 in revenue this year. That all was out of GutterCon. So then Bren came to me and says, hey, we would love to do an offshoot GutterCon like we did for Corey up in Minnesota. They did CoreyCon last year. We want to do BenCon. So BenCon will be a 3-day event in September where we are flying everybody's flying pretty much into Chicago, staying in New Buffalo, the Four Winds Casino up there. And by bus, we're going to go to Kalamazoo and check out Classic Gutter Systems. He does radius gutters. He's a genius when it comes to any sort of custom material you would need. Augustin is his name. He is just brilliant. And then we're going to come to KWM and do a factory tour. We're going to see Scott Malachis in Elite Gutters over in Illinois. And there's a Midwest Gutter Supply. And then we're going to be at my shop doing a full shop tour for a few hours. I'm going to open up anything anybody wants to see, our systems and processes in our back room. When Corey and his general manager came down, they actually took a picture of our board to say, oh, that's interesting that you guys do it this way. I think that we might be able to implement something similar. So there are some actual tried and true things we've been doing for 42 years that we've never changed because it's one of those if it ain't broke situations. And it's a really, really good system that we've created over those years through trial and error to get it where it is now. And man, we're really proud of the operations and how efficient everything is. So it's a chance for me to open my doors. We've got a 8,000 square foot warehouse with all our trucks parked inside and a break room and an office and all that good stuff. And then at night, we're going to do a pig roast because I own and operate an arcade in town. It's called Full Tilt Arcade and Pinball. I've got a partner in that, and we opened that in October 2022. So we're going to rent the arcade out for the night, and everybody's going to play some games and eat a pig.
That is awesome. I love that. I love taking that approach to things, and I think that that's going to be super fun. Ben, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I think this has been a super valuable episode for anyone listening. I know for sure once this gets uploaded, I'm going to go back and listen to it because I think that this has just been great. And I want to make sure I'm soaking everything in.
No, I appreciate it, man.
I go take notes and everything. And it's
I really do appreciate your time. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. It's humbling to be asked to do things like this. I'm still some dumb kid in my head, like, imposter syndrome all day long. But I know for a fact that we've built something really special here, and I'm very thankful to share it with the world. So thank you very, very much for your time.
Of course, man. And second to you on that, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure that we'll be in touch very soon.
I love it. Have a great day.
You too, man.